Have you ever noticed how quickly people give away their strength without even realizing it? One sentence, one confession of longing, and suddenly the room shifts. The moment you admit what you cannot live without, you place the strings of your own heart in someone else's hands. The Stoics warned us long ago. The hunger for what lies outside your control is not freedom, but the seed of suffering. Yet we still mistake exposure for honesty and honesty for courage. We believe that declaring our desires makes us strong, when in truth it often makes us predictable, and a predictable soul is easy to move, easy to own. But here lies the paradox. Desire itself is not weakness. The fire within is not the danger. The danger comes when the flame leaks out, unguarded, waiting to be blown in any direction by the winds of others. So the question is this: will you scatter your fire for the world to play with, or will you learn to guard it until it burns with quiet strength? Stay with me. As we step into the first chapter, picture this: the moment you reveal what you crave, the ground beneath your feet shifts. The instant you let hunger slip from your lips, you hand the blueprint of your soul to someone else. They now know where to press, how to delay, what to dangle. One confession of need, and the lever of your being is no longer in your hands. Now imagine a negotiation. You walk into the room, shoulders tight, and say, "I'll do anything for this job." What happens next is predictable. They sense your desperation. They know you will accept the late nights, the unfair treatment, even the casual disrespect, because you've shown them your tether. Or think of whispering to someone, "You mean everything to me." Suddenly their silence weighs more than any words they could offer. You've given them the power to make you restless, anxious, compliant. The Stoics warned us that freedom is fragile. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control. Desire displayed is freedom surrendered." Once you show the world the lever that moves you, you no longer command yourself. Whether others exploit it intentionally or touch it by accident, the effect is the same. You are moved, not by reason, but by exposure. Here's where it stings. Confessing desire feels natural. It feels noble. Society tells us that openness equals courage, that saying what you want proves strength. But look closely. Time and again, those who broadcast their hunger too soon find themselves disappointed. Predictability becomes their chain, and predictability is always easy to control. Marcus Aurelius offered a reminder: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What you want belongs to the outer world. It sits in the hands of people, in the shifting currents of fate. The moment you reveal it, you tether your peace to something beyond your command. You weaken the only possession that is truly yours, your own mind. Think of the worker begging a manager for recognition. Their words fall not as proof of worth, but as a signal of need. The manager gives them just enough attention to keep them desperate, never more, never less. Or consider the friend who pours out their hunger for belonging. Soon, others begin to test that need, pulling at it, exploiting their willingness to always be available. Even in love, when devotion is declared too quickly, the bond shifts. When hunger speaks too loudly, mystery dies. Seneca saw this clearly. He who is a slave to his desires is more wretched than he who bears the yoke of another. This is not only about being ruled by other people, it is about being ruled by your own exposed cravings. The leash is fastened the moment you show it. Ask yourself, why do we speak so quickly? Why do we hand over the map of our desires as though it proves we are brave? Openness feels like release, but what was sacred shifts into the hands of others. They decide when you feel whole and when you feel empty. To confess too soon is to surrender leverage. To hold desire inward is to remain untouchable. Think of it like a flame. Exposed, it flickers in the wind, vulnerable to every passing current. Contained, it burns steady, fueling strength, not dependence. The one who can want without announcing, who can burn inwardly yet remain composed outwardly, carries a presence no one can toy with. This is the quiet paradox. It is not desire that enslaves, but the careless revealing of it. The fire within you was never meant to be scattered across the world for others to interpret and manipulate. It was meant to be guarded, disciplined, and channeled into action. And so, as we close this chapter, remember this: each careless word surrenders a piece of you. Each unguarded hunger tightens the chain. But every moment you hold steady, every time you keep the flame behind glass, you grow stronger. You reclaim the power that was always yours to protect. Because strength is not in the shouting of your longings, it is in the discipline of silence. And silence, when chosen, becomes a fortress no one can breach. The question then is simple. Will you hand the world the key to move you, or will you hold it close and stand unshakable? The next step takes us deeper into this paradox, where silence is not emptiness, but power waiting to be revealed. Moving into the second chapter, here's where the paradox stands in front of us. Desire itself is not weakness. To want is human. To long for growth, for connection, for achievement, that is the spark that makes life meaningful. The Stoics never told us to kill desire. They told us to discipline it, to guard it within the walls of the self, shaped and guided by reason, not scattered recklessly into the hands of strangers. Now picture this. You are in the presence of someone who seems to need nothing from you. They stand calm, composed, unhurried. They do not beg for approval. They do not chase affirmation. And yet that very indifference creates a gravity. People orbit them, pulled not by noise, but by mystery. They sense a strength that does not bend to outside influence. Contrast that with the one who wears desire openly, always asking, always hoping, always reacting. One radiates freedom, the other radiates dependence. Aristotle once wrote, "The more you know yourself, the more clarity there is. Self-knowledge has no end. To know yourself is to guard what matters, instead of scattering it into every listening ear." But how often do we betray ourselves with our own mouths? We speak of our goals, and when we fall short, the weight of expectation crushes us. We admit our fears, and others, consciously or not, begin to test them. We declare our dreams, only to discover resistance from those who feel left behind. Every time the pattern repeats. Desire revealed becomes leverage surrendered, and the more often we repeat it, the more powerless we feel. To live with discipline does not mean to live without desire. It means to master its expression. The Stoics knew that silence could be a form of strength. Not every thought, not every hunger, not every ambition must be placed on display. In silence, desire remains yours, contained, sharpened, a source of drive that fuels action rather than dependence. To speak it carelessly is to scatter it. To hold it inward is to turn it into focus, resilience, strength. So the next time you feel the surge to announce what you long for, pause. Ask yourself, will exposing this desire give me more freedom or less? The truth is simple. Desire revealed is leverage given. The one who learns to hold it with patience, composure, and discipline will always stand taller than the one who reveals it too soon. Many mistake exposure for courage. They say, "I just really want this." But honesty, without discipline, is not strength. It is exposure. It is like handing the keys of your house to strangers. The words may feel noble as they leave your lips, but what you've done is surrender what was yours to protect. The Stoics warned us repeatedly, what we reveal without control becomes the seed of our suffering. Epictetus reminded us, the first step toward mastery is not in gaining the approval of others, but in mastering our own impulses. And yet, how often do we confuse the impulse to speak with the wisdom to remain silent? Here's the subtle trap of openness. You believe that by showing where you ache, you are building a bond. You think others will honor that trust. But in truth, you've handed them the rhythm of your emotions. The moment you say, "This matters more than anything to me," you give someone else the power to withhold it, to test you, to control your peace. Seneca captured it when he wrote, "He who is brave is free." Bravery is not in blurting out every longing. It is in holding it, carrying it, guarding it from those who would toy with it. To keep what matters secure is not deception, it is wisdom. Why then do so many make this mistake? Openness feels like release, but the relief is brief. Once spoken, what was sacred is no longer fully yours. Once spoken, your desire becomes something others can delay, deny, or manipulate. Marcus Aurelius warned us that we suffer more from our own opinions than from the world itself. When you reveal desire, it is not only others who may use it against you, your own mind will. You begin to wait, to watch, to anticipate their response. Silence now feels louder. Words weigh heavier. Suddenly, your peace depends on them, not you. Consider the relationships you've seen crumble under the weight of overexposed longing. One person pours out endless affection, hoping it will create closeness. Instead, it breeds distance. Mystery fades, the bond weakens. Or think of careers derailed by eagerness. Someone proclaims too loudly how badly they want the promotion. Immediately their superiors know they hold the cards. They stretch the ambition as far as they like because the hunger has already been confessed. Here is the paradox. Silence feels risky. We fear that if we do not voice our needs, no one will notice them. But silence does not erase desire. Silence protects it. It keeps it within your control, so you can act with calm focus rather than scattering it recklessly. The path of Stoicism does not demand that we hide forever. It teaches us to choose wisely what to reveal and when. A skilled builder does not show the blueprint before the foundation is ready. In the same way, we must guard the blueprint of our inner world. What is revealed too soon collapses under pressure. What is guarded grows stronger. So the next time the urge rises to say, "I just really want this," stop. Ask yourself, will speaking this make me freer or weaker? Because openness without restraint is not authenticity, it is surrender. And the one who learns to hold desire quietly, to act with composure rather than announce with desperation, rises above manipulation. The world may praise constant vulnerability, but wisdom lies in discernment. Not every truth must be spoken. Not every hunger must be confessed. The strongest connection you can build is with yourself, the ability to know your desires deeply without handing them away carelessly. That is where real honesty begins. And this is where the deeper lesson unfolds. The world respects the one who can feel deeply and yet stand unshaken, rather than the one who reveals everything and waits to be moved. The next step takes us further into this hidden power, where silence is no longer emptiness, but the shield that keeps you free. Here's where the third chapter takes us. Hunger is never truly hidden. Even if your lips stay sealed, it seeps through your eyes, your tone, the way your attention clings to what you want. Once revealed, the air around you changes. Mystery never invites attack, but need always does. Hunger makes you vulnerable, not because everyone is cruel, but because people instinctively move to control what looks desperate. Seneca warned, "He who is everywhere is nowhere. The one who shows everything, who hides nothing, loses depth." In the same way, when you scatter your energy in craving, you lose the gravity that makes others respect you. Think of the worker desperate for recognition. He stays late, not out of principle, but to be noticed. Instead of commanding respect through excellence, he performs for approval. Or the friend who constantly begs for reassurance until their need becomes predictable, easy to manipulate. Even in love, when hunger is too visible, the balance shifts. Affection becomes leverage. Openness decays into dependence, and dependence is always tested. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "External things have no true hold on us unless we give them one. Hunger gives away that hold before anyone even asks." A manager promises promotion, not to deliver it, but to keep loyalty alive. A partner withdraws affection to test how far you'll bend. A circle of friends pressures you to conform because they sense your need to belong. And every time, the more visible the hunger, the less freedom you hold. But hunger doesn't just expose you to others, it manipulates you from within. At first, it feels like drive, the fire that pushes you forward. But unchecked, it consumes. You stop working for mastery and start working for applause. You stop speaking with conviction and start tailoring words for approval. You stop living by principle and start calculating each step for validation. Purpose erodes into performance. And performance is exhausting because it bends you toward the crowd instead of toward yourself. Epictetus warned, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Yet hunger robs that mastery. It tugs like a leash. It tells you when to smile, when to plead, when to wait. And because you've shown it, others know exactly how to pull. But imagine the opposite. Hunger held quietly, contained. The field shifts. People sense composure they cannot penetrate. They see effort without begging, strength without need. Instead of wondering how to control you, they wonder how to understand you. That mystery breeds respect. Plato once said, "The measure of a man is what he does with power." Hunger is the opposite. It shows what you do without power. Expose it, and you surrender control. Hold it, and you keep your strength intact. This doesn't mean killing desire. To want is human. But when desire spills into hunger too visible, it stops being fuel and becomes weakness. The louder you crave, the more people test you, and the more they test, the more you bend. Resilience fades. True resilience is restraint, knowing what you want, but refusing to let it own you. Aristotle wrote, "Self-knowledge is the beginning of wisdom." To know yourself is to recognize when hunger writes your story. Stoicism teaches silence, not as disguise, but as safeguard. Guard the fire. Let it fuel action, not cloud judgment. When hunger is held inward, you cannot be baited or delayed. You may still want deeply, but you remain untouchable. In that gap between hunger felt and hunger revealed lies freedom. So the next time you want to announce your craving, pause. People rarely attack mystery. They attack need. Hunger on display makes you a target. Hunger contained makes you powerful. Let desire guide your steps, not your speeches. When you can feel deeply without showing desperation, you cannot be manipulated. You stop performing for the crowd. You begin acting for yourself. Society urges constant openness. It tells us to speak every truth, to declare every desire. It sounds noble. But much of what passes for vulnerability is dependency disguised as courage. To say, "I want this more than anything," is not strength. It is surrender. The courage the Stoics lived by was quieter, harder, stronger. It did not shout. It did not demand. It was the stillness of someone who already seemed complete, even if still striving, still becoming. That stillness unsettles others. Because while they cling to approval, you walk as if needing nothing. Seneca said, "The greatest wealth is a poverty of desires." To step into any space with no visible need is to walk in rich, even before the world offers you anything. People notice. They respect it, even silently. They wonder what you carry, and they cannot find the answer because it lies within. Aristotle declared, "Courage is the first of human qualities because it guarantees the others." Courage here is not in expression, but in control. It ensures freedom because it keeps you from slavery to what lies outside yourself. So when the urge comes to declare your desires, stop. Ask yourself, is this courage or craving dressed as bravery? Remember this: the world respects not the one who begs, but the one who carries themselves as whole. One reveals weakness. The other embodies freedom. And freedom, as the Stoics knew, is the ground where true strength stands. If these words strike you, write 2 simple words below: quiet strength. And if you wish to continue walking this path, subscribe now. Each lesson forward is not just more knowledge, it is the act of reclaiming yourself. Entering the 4th chapter, we meet the strange and quiet force of indifference. Not the cold indifference of apathy, but the disciplined indifference of someone who feels deeply yet refuses to be ruled by it. To want something with fire in your chest but reveal nothing. This is to become ungovernable. Others watch, searching for clues, trying to decode what drives you. But they find no answer. And that uncertainty unsettles them. Hunger makes you predictable, indifference makes you unreadable, and in being unreadable, you become powerful. Now imagine 2 figures. One carries visible desperation, emotions tied to outcomes, moods dictated by approval, strength dependent on whether things go his way. The other walks as if nothing outside himself can break his spirit. He looks as though nothing is owed to him. And in that presence, the balance of control shifts. Indifference rattles people because it forces them into their own imagination. They start to fill in the blanks themselves. Why is this person not reacting? What are they thinking? What are they planning? In that silence, their fears surface. They project motives. They anticipate threats that were never spoken. Meanwhile, you remain steady. Not because you're plotting endlessly, but because you are unbothered by the noise. This is why the Stoics taught harmony between thought and feeling. True indifference allows you to feel deeply, yet still think clearly. You are no longer dragged into chaos by emotion. Look around you, whether in workplaces, relationships, or friendships. Who gets tested the most? It is rarely the one who stands calmly detached. It is almost always the one who makes their need obvious. Say openly, "I cannot live without this opportunity, without this person," and you invite trials. But act as though your life is full, with or without what others offer, and the trials diminish. Not because the world has become kind, but because people hesitate to test those who seem untouchable. Aristotle once wrote, "The ideal man bears the accidents of life with dignity and grace, making the best of circumstances." That is the essence of indifference. Not the absence of care, but the refusal to be enslaved by care, to carry yourself with dignity regardless of outcome. This is what makes indifference powerful. It gives you options. When you are consumed by need, you are trapped. You wait anxiously for someone else's decision, their acceptance, their validation. But when you cultivate indifference, you regain freedom. You are no longer bound to one outcome, one path, one person. You can walk away, and walking away becomes your strength. Epictetus taught, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." When you release the judgment that one outcome defines your worth, you stop being disturbed. You act, you adapt. You move forward, but you never beg, and people notice. They notice when you are not easily moved. They notice when you don't react to provocation. They notice when you don't collapse under pressure. And that notice transforms into respect, even if unspoken. It makes you harder to predict, harder to manipulate, harder to undermine, because what can anyone do to control a person who shows no visible dependence on them? True indifference is not detachment from life. It is anchoring yourself so firmly within that no external tug can pull you away. It does not mean becoming stone, pretending not to care. It means mastering expression, choosing when, how, and to whom you reveal what matters. It is the art of appearing full, whether or not you receive what you desire. And that balance terrifies others, because it makes you unpredictable. They don't know if you are invested, if you are walking away, or if you are waiting. That uncertainty keeps them cautious. Seneca wrote, "A wise person is content with their lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what they have not." This contentment is not laziness, it is strength. It is the shield of indifference, which lets you engage with the world without being enslaved by it. Ask yourself, what happens when you no longer flinch at loss? When you no longer cling to outcomes? When you can want without begging? You gain something rare, freedom. The freedom to act without fear. The freedom to speak without calculation. The freedom to walk without hesitation. And in a world where most are chained to visible hunger, that freedom looks dangerous. It is the power of the one who cannot be bribed, cannot be threatened, cannot be cornered. It is the quiet strength of indifference. The Stoics never told us to kill desire. They taught us to master it, to hold it within so it fuels us but never rules us. And that mastery creates a presence rare in any age, a presence that feels calm, grounded, beyond reach. Indifference, in its truest form, is not the absence of caring. It is the absence of enslavement to care. And once you master that, you stop being a pawn moved by others. You become a force that moves on your own terms. From here, let us turn to the discipline of silence. Those who achieve the most rarely announce it. They don't broadcast every step, begging for recognition before the work is done. They move quietly, allowing their actions to speak in ways words never could. In a world addicted to noise, silence becomes a shield. What is silent is harder to strike. What is hidden is harder to destroy. The Stoics understood this well. They taught that the more you focus on inner strength and outward composure, the less vulnerable you become to fortune's storms or to the shifting opinions of others. To build in shadows is to make yourself unshakable. No one can target what they cannot see. Think of how much energy people waste by announcing their ambitions. They describe their plans, display their blueprints, and in doing so, invite interference. Critics gather. Envy stirs. Sabotage waits. Epictetus reminded us, first say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. Notice, he said, do, not declare. Here's where silence reveals its gravity. The quiet worker, the calm leader, the disciplined builder, these are the ones who command respect. Their movements are not obvious, they do not brag, they arrive with results already in hand. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." Announcing your goals places them outside yourself, into the minds of others who may not understand, who may resent, who may simply wait for you to stumble. But when you keep them close, guarded, your control remains intact. There is another truth. People overestimate those who remain silent. When you do not explain yourself, others begin to project. They assume you are planning more, capable of more, becoming more, and that projection itself becomes power. Contrast this with the one who exposes everything. Their constant updates create fragility. When setbacks arrive, the fall is public, and the weight of disappointment crushes them. But the one who works in silence avoids this burden. Failures are lessons learned in private. Successes appear without warning, undeniable, impossible to dismiss. Seneca said, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. The journey is already heavy. Why add the burden of other people's expectations to your back?" Silence lightens the load. It also protects you from dependence on praise. Once you announce every move, you crave applause. You no longer work for the work itself, you work for the response. But silence breaks that chain. When no one knows what you are building, you build for yourself. The validation comes from within, not from the crowd. Aristotle declared, "The energy of the mind is the essence of life." That energy is squandered when scattered outward for approval. In silence, it is preserved, concentrated, turned toward creation. The strongest figures in history embodied this restraint. They revealed nothing until the work was complete. By the time the world saw it, it was already undeniable. At this stage, remember, noise interrupts rhythm, silence protects it. What you guard grows strong. What you scatter too soon collapses. In a culture that worships attention, the rarest power is silence. To build in shadows is not to hide forever. It is to protect your vision until it can stand unshaken. And when it arrives, it cannot be ignored. At this stage, we return to desire itself, the fire that lives inside every human being. To want is natural. To crave is human. Desire is not the enemy. It gives direction, energy, and meaning. The Stoics never told us to extinguish it. They told us to master it. For desire is like fire, useful, powerful, even necessary. Contained, it warms and builds. Uncontrolled, it consumes everything in its path. Think of how quickly fire dies when left unguarded. Pour out your longings too freely, and the heat escapes, leaving you weaker than before. But hold them close, feed them with discipline, and that flame becomes momentum. It drives you forward in silence, while others burn out in noise. Most people miss this paradox. They think to feel something strongly, they must express it loudly. Yet raw expression often dilutes the very energy it was meant to carry. Picture someone who tells everyone their plans. At first it sounds inspiring, but soon the words lose weight. The dreams no longer belong to them. They belong to the crowd, open to judgment and interference. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Desire works the same way. Waste no more time declaring what you want. Build it. Contain the fire so it fuels your actions, not your announcements. Nature itself shows the pattern. Rivers flow with force because their waters are contained. A dam does not erase water, it harnesses its strength. In the same way, when you hold your desires within, you do not lose passion. You concentrate it. Seneca wrote, "No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is within their power not to want what they do not have." The message was not to kill desire, but to direct it, so it does not spill into every corner of your life uncontrolled. Those who scatter their fire sabotage themselves. Share ambitions too soon, and criticism cools their drive. Speak cravings too loudly, and others learn to withhold what they seek. Display hunger too openly, and mockery or envy drains their strength. But the one who holds steady cannot be manipulated. Others may sense the heat, but they cannot touch the flame. That restraint makes a person unpredictable, untouchable, and dangerous in the most disciplined way. And setbacks. When desire is scattered, every obstacle feels like humiliation because failure is public. But when the fire burns quietly within, setbacks become fuel. Each challenge adds wood to the flame. You recalibrate, redirect, and grow stronger because no one else holds your fire. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Containment gives you that choice. You absorb the blow, and the fire grows. To feel deeply yet remain composed is not to be cold. It is to be strong. Emotions stay within to strengthen you, not spill out to weaken you. The world will always urge you to declare, to broadcast, to expose, but every careless word gives away a spark. The Stoic path teaches the opposite. Guard your energy. Hold your hunger like fire behind glass. It makes you focused, disciplined, ungovernable. Remember this always. The one who feels more than they reveal will always rise above the one who reveals more than they feel. It is not the size of the fire that matters. It is the discipline with which it is contained. Hold your desire close and protect it well. Let your actions carry the weight your words never need to. True strength is not in announcing every longing, but in containing the fire until it shapes your steps with quiet certainty. What you guard grows stronger. What you scatter grows weaker. When you choose to master your desires instead of displaying them, you reclaim the power that was always yours. It is not about denying what you feel, but about refining it into focus and resilience. That discipline is what makes you untouchable. If this message resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe so you can continue building the kind of inner strength that no one can take away. And I encourage you to write 2 simple words in the comments: quiet strength. Let it be both a reminder to yourself and a gift to those who are still learning to hold their own flame. Remember, your value has never depended on the world recognizing your hunger. It depends on the steadiness with which you walk your path. Stay calm, stay disciplined, and keep rising above what tries to shake you. The next lesson will take you even deeper into this hidden power, where silence and composure become your greatest shield.